Hello everyone, today we have a deck that is just crazy enough to work. It is a crazy concoction of a Wiccan deck that has worked phenomenally well. Anything else that I've played recently has felt like there are certain decks that just absolutely dominate it, where there are counterplays that just shut you down and it's hard to read or gauge, and so that makes snapping or staying on snaps very tough to read. This one, however, has felt fantastic into just about everything that I played into. We have some slight counterplay in the Cosmo and Negasonic. Cosmo right now on reveals are running rampant, and so Cosmo can shut those down, whether that be a Wong Namora deck, whether that be a bounce deck, a destroy deck. There are so many on reveals that Cosmo can protect you from. We have Negasonic that when played correctly and when played with tempo can be so tough to read. When she's in a deck that doesn't typically run her or you're not anticipating her, Negasonic can be so frustrating, like a cheaper, more frustrating Alioth to a degree. We have Daredevil to help us get some insight into a turn 5 play, so maybe that helps us position our Cosmo more efficiently. Maybe that helps us drop our Negasonic a little bit better. That way we can make sure that we have the advantage going into the final turn of the game. We also round out the deck with a Gwenpool, because if we're playing on curve, our hand size is going to be pretty small most games. And so Gwenpool can hit a couple of cards. Sometimes she's going to stack that buff into flooding on turn 5 and turn 6. If you used Wiccan on turn 4, Gwenpool on 5 can be so dominant because you're only going to have about 2 cards in hand. And so you're going to be able to guarantee that you get that value onto the board, which is a huge piece of making sure that Gwenpool is value added. We have the 2-piece combo meal of the Luke Cage of the Man-Thing. Right now, there are a lot of low ball things being played. Man-Thing can be really detrimental to them. We have the Luke Cage to make sure that ours are protected. And then, of course, as I mentioned, we have the Wiccan line. And so our early curve is really focused on making sure we're getting 1, value, and then 2, we're likely to be able to play on curve to enable a Wiccan on 4. So Maria Hill is probably the Kate Bishop of 1 costs in regards to Wiccan. She gives you a 2-cost card to make sure that you can play all of your energy on turn 2. So if you have her on 1, fantastic. Plus, we have a lot of solid 2-drops right now, so Maria Hill does have some pretty decent value. We have the Nico, which can do some similar things. Maybe she destroys your next card into allowing you to draw additional cards. Maybe you copy the next card you play. She has a lot of utility. We have the good old Hydra Bob. I know a lot of you aren't going to have Hydra Bob. If you don't, just go with another good value 1 cost, whether that be disruption from like a Korg, an Iceman, or just another solid 1 cost. You will probably be fine replacing it, but during my testing, he did show his merits in being able to have that flexible power to position around the board. We can protect the lane from being capped out and then later move it, and just some good utility tool from the Hydra Bob. And then, of course, we have Kate Bishop and Copycat. Copycat, if you don't own it, is kind of like a Nocturne in that it just has so much of value that it fits into almost any deck that you're going to build, but if you don't have her, replace it with another solid 3-cost. You could go with a late game card like a Sage, but I would probably go with something that you could play on curve just in case that's your only 3-cost option. So something like a Nocturne can still be good value. You could also go Cassandra Nova, but then you're potentially susceptible to a Shadow King, but Cassandra Nova is a good sub as well. And so overall, the deck ran phenomenally. I had close to a 70% win rate over about 15 games, which is still a relatively low sample size. But in a meta where everything else has been pushing about 53, 54 for me, something that came out of the gate and hit 70 is huge. And just a quick shout out, Twitch drops for Marvel Snap are going to start on Monday at 11 a.m. Central Time. I'm going to be streaming from the launch of drops until I just pass out. So if you want a positive, cozy home to get your drops, check me out on twitch.tv/TLSG Snap on Monday, August 19th. I would absolutely love to have you there. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and jump over into a couple of games. Thank you guys, as always, for being here. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, next up we have Mystique or Smiley Face. The first location is Luke's Bar. We have our Kate Bishop, so maybe we can do something cool with like a grapple arrow to get power over there. The opponent does have an Arsham build, so we have to look out for the big things that deck can push out. We're just going to try and hold on and do our best. We aren't going to be able to get the Wiccan down on this game, courtesy of not having a 1-cost on turn number 1. They go Loki, and so Loki, it's not huge for him. Our deck is a whole bunch of gobbledygook for the most part. We do get both Acid and Grapple Arrow, which is nice to see. So we can do something like Acid Arrow mid, and then maybe just like a Daredevil. That's going to take up 3 of their 4 spots in the expansion. We have the Grapple Arrow. Of course, after turn 4, the locations will shift. And so it could shift into Luke's bar. So maybe we need to play enough power there. Otherwise, I don't know. The Red Guardian. My RNG lately has been really, really poor. We do get the higher value out of that one. But still, it's been very, very poor in general as of late. Let's go Gwenpool into the X-Mansion. We have Grapple Arrow, so if maybe something shifts around, we also have Hydra Bob to reach into that tough-to-reach location. And so I'm going to go Gwenpool, see what we can end up pulling from the Gwen. All right, so they triple drop in the right lane. I'm hoping that Luke's bar pops into mid. So the Agent 13 that they destroy with Nico, we haven't seen a single piece of their actual deck besides the Loki, which is good, but also kind of scary. So we have the Grapple Arrow. We can beat this right lane with something like a Hydra Bob move. I'm going to save my snap for next turn. That way, even if they snap back, they're not going to be able to push the Hydra Bob anywhere else. And then we'll go something like Grapple Arrow into Wiccan is my tentative line. I think Man-Thing will let us win mid. And so with Hydra Bob, I have to snap kind of strategically so that they can't move him again. The Lady Deathstrike clears out just about all of their cards in mid. My goodness, it clears out so much in the Agent, or the Red Guardian, the Loki, the Acid Arrow. Since we had Man-Thing, it did clear out the Loki as well. Oof. More than I wanted it to clear, to be honest. So we can go...
Opponent snapped.
We can go Wiccan. Unless they have our Hydra Bob, would bring them to 16. So maybe it's Grapple Arrow, Wiccan, Nico, Snapback. This is going to be a 0. The only reason that it's here in mid is to make sure that our Hydra Bob pops over to Luke's bar, guaranteed. And so our Wiccan is going to go over there as well. Let's lock in the 8-cuber, see if we can hold it down. I'm hoping. So the Wiccan rips right over into Luke's bar. We actually won even without that. So the Copycat, the Hydra Bob of their own, and then the Miss Marvel is marvelous for them. Let's see where their Hydra Bob bounces over to the left. Had it jumped over to the right, it would not have been enough to win still because of the Miss Marvel and because of the Nico. And so it looked like a 50-50 for a second, but it was in fact not a 50-50. We will take the 8-cuber with the Grapple Arrow, with the Hydra Bob, sneaky movement over into a hard to reach location. We'll take it. Let's jump over into the next. All right, next up we have rank number 10, Callus. And they've beat us a couple of times to the point where we're calloused up. We're numb to it now. They go Nebula to start. They have the Red Hulk. So we have to look out for like the Sandman Claw style shenanigans. Let's go ahead and play out Daredevil. We have a Cosmo to potentially stop a Ultron, potentially stop a Sandman. We have Luke Cage to help us from the Necrotia line as well. I'm actually going to hide the Lucas Cageus so that they don't know that we have that extra reach into Necrotia. We're going to hide Luke Cage. We have Gwenpool that we maybe use next. I think we probably do. Nico comes down. Let's go Gwenpool next turn. We're probably flooding like our Hydra Bob, our Nico, our Negasonic down. Or maybe we angle like a Cosmo into Necrotia. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see what it ends up looking like. But they could be looking to maybe angle, if they have Ultron. Ultron here wouldn't be a bad shot because it'll upgrade into a better 6 cost and it affects the left and the right. So we have the Daredevil Read, the Daredevil Insight here. We have the 6-power Negasonic, which is huge. The 3-power Nico, which is not as huge, but it's not awful either as far as they go. So Sandman, they do have initiative here by 1. Unfortunately, they have the initiative. We can go something like Negasonic Right would stop them from playing anything here. I almost want to snap into it.
Snap.
So we have a decent amount of hidden power over in the left to maybe compete against a Red Hulk. With the Negasonic in the right, I think it will be enough once Necrosha kind of slingshots our cards back up by 6, which is such a big amount of power. So even if they go +2 from the Nebula, they go, let's say, an Ultron somewhere, and this is +2, then that brings them up to 11, 2, 4, 6, brings us up to 14. We can, I think, just win left with a Wiccan play and call it good. That's our hope anyways. They do go mid with the Ultron. Very, very... All right, next up we have Show, and Icebox showed us that we are not meant to have extra energy this game, unfortunate as that is. We do have the Daredevil, so we can see what their turn 5 play is. Camp Lehi gives us a non-natural Negasonic. Gladly take it. We can't do Kate Bishop just yet. I'm going to go ahead and do the good old Daredevil, throw it onto the board. Juggernaut comes down, but that's fine. This turn we have potentially Luke Cage that we stage. We could stage both Hawkeye and Kate Bishop. We would have been able to get a turn 3 Wiccan down, which just makes me so sad. And we had the beautiful Hydra Bob to get us there. Icebox just had other plans for us. And so in Icebox we trust, I suppose. Let's go Hydra Bob. Let's go Kate Bishop. And I want to see if maybe we can have initiative going to the final turn, because then we could position... Wait, oh man, unfortunate. Hydra Bob, they snap, Hydra Bob pops out of the left lane and we lose it. Unfortunate. Let's see. We have Acid Arrow. It'll get pretty congested pretty fast. We can always go Acid Arrow into Luke Cage. Or we just go with the good old Wiccan line. Let's go Wiccan instead. Wicked Wiccan. We block their Adam Warlock, which is great for us. We steal a Nimrod, not as great. Turn 5, we have initiative. We have the Daredevil Insight, and so maybe a Negasonic this turn, a Negasonic next turn, and just absolutely make them so frustrated. The big old blob. Big old blob. I'm going to throw Negasonic to the left, and all the while we're going to do basic arrow and we're going to do basic arrow and acid arrow. We have we have a second Negasonic to come down after this turn, but the problem is I can't snap without Hydra Bob moving or leaving the icebox. And so when I snap, it'll have to be either with a full board state, or it'll have to be whenever we're okay with a lane being capped out. And so now we can do something. We won't be able to make sure that Hydra Bob stays. So we'd have to go something like Negasonic Cosmo. That is what we're leaning into here. And honestly, you know what? We can move Hydra Bob out of left. We can lose that one, because I'm pretty confident we'll win right. See if they stay. I'm a boomer snap them. I would have snapped on turn 5. Hydra Bob things. We have the Negasonic, which is going to give us a little bit of a good chuckle in Camp Lehi. We don't even know what Blob absorbed before he died. Oh, the double drop in mid. We have the second Negasonic staring them down. The Mockingbird is going to be gone. The Legion as well. And so we do win mid by 1. It was very, 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 very close. Our Hydra Bob popping over to the right to add insult to injury. My goodness, what a showing for Negasonic. Had they flipped that order and went Legion first, Mockingbird, they would have been able to win mid. We got very fortunate. I'll take it. Let's jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have good old Ben. The first location, Hotel Inferno. We have our Maria Hill to lean into so that we can destroy one of their cards. We're also going to be able to play on Curve because she's going to generate that 2 cost for us. We have the Cosmo for 3. And so if we draw into Wiccan, perfect. We get Hazmat. We take out their Eliath. Cosmo on 3 is now not as effective. We do lose our Man-Thing. Generating the Hazmat's not ideal unless we drew into, I don't know, maybe a 1 cost that we could use. Let's go ahead and go Nico into Hydra Bob. And then maybe we get a Luke Cage. Maybe we get a Copycat. Otherwise, we're throwing the pig that was previously Cosmo. We're throwing that down. And so this way we don't have to do our Hazmat early. We can potentially do it late to negatively afflict them. Since Maria Hill generated it, we want to use it to the fullest of our possibility. So double Hazmat on it as well. So we have the Hawkeye or the Kate Bishop now. Let's go Spider Pig to the right. I'm glad that they've already thrown their White Widow down. Otherwise, Camartage becomes very full very, very fast. We do have a Gwenpool for Camartage, so loads of a buff on both whatever's in our hand. We get a really big reach. They go Pixie into an immediate draw of those cards, and so then it gets really roulette-y, really, really fast. We do get Wiccan. So I think we're going to go double Wiccan, double Gwenpool. Double Wiccan, double Gwenpool into finishing it off from there. Now, with them snapping, Hydra Bob could go over into the right lane. And if so, then we'll have to return Fire Snap. But, of course, we'll see. They do go with the double Wiccan as well. And they have the extra card draw from their deck, so we have to be very, very cautious. They lost their Eliath, so we don't have to worry about that. We have to worry about like Red Hulk and all of these big, big, scary possible plays. So with 9 energy here, let's go Gwenpool. I'm going to go Gwenpool into Kate Bishop. Just a single trigger for Kate Bishop. That's going to make both of these very, very big for us. And I think we'll be able to maintain initiative on the final turn. Although they could play big over to the left. I changed my mind. We're going to go big Negasonic over to the left to destroy hopefully something of value for them. They have 1 card left in their hand, so they went really big, really, really big on turn number 5. The hood comes down, so that is big on them as well. Do they have a Oh, they have a Nihilus, right? A Nihilus or Viper. Unfortunate as that may be, the Mobius comes down. If we draw, if we happen to draw Luke Cage, the 1 out of 3, we could get a little. No, we could potentially win with the Hazmat line, right? We do not get the 1 out of 3 though. So go Hazmat, Kate Bishop, Daredevil. 612. 612 becomes 15. We win with the Hawk, with the Kate Bishop. Let's see what we can do. All right, so the basic arrow. Fine. The Cersei. Ooh, interesting. Into Valentina. So rolling the dice here. US Agent. And then Valentina again. So not a good upgrade for him. The double demon in mid. We have the big hazmat coming into play. Not going to be enough for him. The Kate Bishop over to the left. The double Gwenpool being so strong and so prominent that we were able to grab home the 4 against all odds. We will take it. Let's go ahead and jump over into the next one. All right, next up we have Buddy. And I have to tell you, he's not my buddy, pal. We have Nico into Hydra Bob. We could always do Hydra Bob here and Snap, but I'm just going to do Hydra Bob. And I'm going to play both of them so that maybe we can get the Wiccan bonus. Now, they have a Morbius, which, if left unchecked, can get up to a more billion power. But we do have the Cosmo, which could potentially stop a big MODOK. It could stop a couple of big plays. Let's see, they draw probably a Meek, I would imagine. We have Negasonic, which could stop a Dracula from being dropped. Is that where they go, though? Is that the direction that they go? I'm gonna give it a shot. Ooh, the Negasonic is now there, and so they're just the Meek. And so I have to think that they have the MODOK. Something. Oh my goodness. They do not have the MODOK. We steal that with our copycat. But my goodness, is this unfortunate. Let's go Maria Hill into Cosmo. We're going to see if we can stop a discard from happening. Because I don't think they willingly play into the negative zone. I just don't think they do. They do, with one of their cards, probably a cheaper card. The Cosmo, hopefully hitting the big discard unit. They do have Apocalypse, and so we have to look out for how big that thing can get, how quickly it can get there. This lane is looking pretty juicy for a Man-Thing. Let's go Gwenpool left. I'm going to go ahead and take away our extra energy. Already negated our Negasonic. Now, drawing into Luke Cage could be really, really beneficial for us. We have a couple more turns to try to get there. The Swarm comes down, which is helping get their Morbius into that more billion power that I talked about. We know that they don't have MODOK, and so that one is not in the midst or in the works. We do have our Luke Cage, Invisible Woman. Let's go something like Man-Thing mid into Copycat Luke Cage. And I think it's enough to win.
Snap.
Now, up to this point, they do still have the extra energy. We know that they can't get their MODOK because of our Copycat. So in this game, she's just giving us really good, solid value. We have the buffed up Man-Thing that got buffed up additionally by Gwenpool. And we're going to have the Luke Cage to make sure we're not afflicted. We can probably go Copycat mid, then I think Luke Cage. I think the negative zone becomes very easy as a win. I'm afraid of Hydra Bob jumping into mid now that I look at it. So Dracula comes down. The big old Dracula. Hydra Bob does pop into the middle lane. And so we are susceptible. We are weak to what that can do. So I think we push over to the left. If for some reason they just play their Apocalypse, then our Luke Cage gives us enough power to overcome their middle lane. Depending on what they discard, I suppose, from the Dracula. So let's see if they... I doubt they play their Apocalypse out. But they might. They might throw it into mid. They did. Oh, no. We still win the middle lane. The right lane is still within winning range. Had they pulled something a little bit bigger, it was fine. Because of Luke Cage popping mid back up by 6, it gave us that kind of swing that they weren't anticipating. We'll take the 4 from Buddy. Let's jump over into the next. All right, next up we have Elba Nano, and we have, I don't know if you guys saw it as it was coming into play. We have the beautiful Copycat. We have the turn 1 Maria Hill. We have the turn 2 Maria Hill resource into the turn 3 Wiccan. Into the turn 4 Gwenpool. We have the Cosmo. We have some really solid stuff going for us here. I'm going to go ahead and hold off on playing an Ant Maze for now. They go Quicksilver, so not only did they defile their deck and build it in a way that they had that guaranteed curve, but they're not even going to be able to draw into their Wiccan, which makes me I'm very sad for them, but I'm also a little bit giddy that it happened to us. We generate a Helicarrier. They go White Widow into Ant Maze. As long as they don't have full-on clutter, that's fine. White Widow does pop over into mid, so they get the scaling on it, which is just so great for them. Luke's Bar. We could potentially pop more power over there. Maybe we get a grapple arrow with Kate Bishop. We have a couple of things that we can do with it. We also have Man Thing, which could be pretty detrimental to them here. The Cassandra Nova in the left lane, something like a Negasonic now becomes very, very powerful. Because they're speaking of Negasonic, ask and you shall receive. I'm gonna go Gwenpool into. I don't want to cap out mid though, is the problem. So I guess we could do this. We could go Gwenpool into Kate Bishop. That's gonna maybe push into mid. That'd be ideal. But if it pushes into Luke's Bar, great. That's what we're gonna go with. And then we have the Kate Bishop over to the left. Ooh, and they went with the Psylocke as well. So between Quicksilver, Psylocke, they copy. Ooh, they may get a copy of our Negasonic. Is that right? Our lowest cost card. So either Cosmo or Negasonic. We don't know which one. We do get Grapple Arrow. So if we need additional reach over here, we have it. However, we do have initiative here. So something like Man Thing. Maybe Man Thing Cosmo for a turn 5 play. We could hide a Negasonic here next turn. With a turn 3 Wiccan, with all of our additional kind of flex resources, I just don't think they're going to be able to hold up and compete. Of course, we'll see. The Man Thing here is going to be big. They could have a Shang-Chi, possibly. They drop a single card. Ooh, Dr. Doom in the right lane, which helps here, here, and here, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And they do dodge the Cosmo block, so I'm guessing I'm thinking that that's probably in line with what they ended up drawing. We can go Helicarrier. Helicarrier into Negasonic mid. If they play a big card here, sorry about you. The Helicarrier here is going to be 7, but it's going to negate the -3 here. I think we're fine. We do end up forcing the retreat. Well played. Sometimes things are just going to fall in your favor. We'll take it.